Hello, I'm Sean Henderson with RE/MAX Hallmark Realty Group. Thank you for considering using my services as a real estate agent. Please watch this video to the end, as the next steps are at the end of the video, and this will also ensure that you've watched this video completely. In this video, I'll walk you through the key points outlined in the RECO information guide that I just provided to you. This guide was provided by the Real Estate Council of Ontario, or otherwise known as RECO, who is the regulatory body for real estate agents and brokerages in the province of Ontario. RECO plays a crucial role in regulating real estate agents, educating consumers, and ensuring that there's a safe and informed marketplace in Ontario. RECO administers and enforces the Trust in Real Estate Services Act 2002. The information that you have is an initiative on their behalf to inform and educate consumers like yourself. You are receiving this guide because you are either considering receiving real estate services from a real estate agent like myself, or perhaps I am representing a client in a real estate transaction and you are considering receiving assistance from me. As a real estate agent in Ontario, I am required to provide this guide to you before I provide any services or assistance to you. I also must tell you that I am registered with RECO, I have completed the mandatory education, and I also hold the necessary consumer deposit protection and liability insurance. If you are a seller, I can advise you on market conditions, I can market or advertise your home, I can provide you referrals to professionals, I can arrange inspections, showings, and guide you through the paperwork and the closing process. As a buyer, I can assist you with financing, I can explain tax exemptions, gather information on neighborhoods, arrange property tours and visits, explain the offer situation, negotiate with sellers, and guide you through the paperwork and closing processes. As a landlord or tenant, I can provide equally similar services. Both buyers and sellers benefit from the duties that the brokerage and the agent provide to them. This includes undivided loyalty, disclosure, confidentiality, and the avoidance of conflict of interest. You also have duties in this relationship. You need to be clear about your preferences. You need to respond promptly to my requests. You need to understand the terms of our agreement, and you need to pay the agreed upon fees. You also have the right to not become a client and become self-represented in your real estate transaction. This section explains the risks in representing yourself in a real estate transaction. You should consult professional advice before declaring yourself a self-represented party. If you know that you have the skills and experience to represent yourself in a real estate transaction, you should know that I may represent someone else in this real estate transaction. I would have a legal obligation to act in the best interest of my client, and anything that you said to me may be relayed to my client. However, if you became a client of mine, I would owe you the same duties and obligations as outlined earlier. You have the right to change your mind. If you choose to complete a transaction on your own, you can, at a later time, choose to become a client of myself or another real estate professional. When becoming a client, you sign a representation agreement with my brokerage. This agreement outlines the services, duties, payment terms, and termination provisions. If you indicate that you want to be a client, I will send you the standard client representation agreement that most real estate agents use. There is an advantage to signing a representation agreement at this time. I would owe you the duties as previously discussed. You gain my undivided loyalty, your interests are protected, I must protect your confidential information, and I must avoid any potential conflicts of interest. However, I do not encourage you to sign an agreement at this time. I have a buying process and a selling process, and I would like to review those with you before we decide to commit to each other. We need to want to work together before we sign an agreement. If you agree to use my process, then we will proceed to an agreement. As there are no standards when it comes to services offered by real estate agents, I want you to understand the processes and the services that I offer. Normally, this would be done at our first meeting. I also have an anytime cancellation policy. If at any time you are not happy with my services, you can cancel, no questions asked. Nonetheless, it is essential to review the processes and the agreement to ensure there are no misunderstandings. My brokerage follows designated representation. This means I represent you in the real estate transaction. A situation may occur where I represent more than one client in the same transaction. This is not allowed unless all clients agree to it. If agreed, my role must change. I become a facilitator to the transaction. I remain impartial. I do not have undivided loyalty. I cannot promote or protect one party's interests over the other party's interests or vice versa. I cannot advise on price, terms, or other benefits that may harm or help you or the other party in the transaction. I must, as always, provide legal, honest, and ethical service to all parties, and I must protect all confidential information. Once again, it's not allowed unless all parties agree to it, and it's also pretty rare. The most likely scenario is that one party agrees to be represented by another real estate agent within my brokerage. Then everyone retains the same duties and services that they agreed to. Sellers in Ontario have the right to disclose the content within the offers that they receive. They cannot disclose personal information. They do not need to disclose their intentions in advance, and they can change their mind. Buyers can choose to not participate in offers where the contents of their offers may be disclosed to other parties. However, we may not always know in advance. This final section is about how to file a complaint. Not discussed in this guide, but I have the anytime cancellation policy. If you're not happy with my services, no questions asked, cancel our agreement. However, if you have concerns or issues that you would like to address, you would first discuss them with my brokerage. And if the issue persists, you could contact RECO through the processes outlined in this guide. In conclusion, working with a real estate agent involves mutual responsibilities and clear communication. Whether you're a buyer or a seller, a landlord or a tenant, understanding the terms of your agreement and knowing when to ask for professional advice is crucial to a successful real estate transaction. Your next steps are: reply to me indicating whether you want to be a client or treated as a self-represented party in your real estate transaction. In that reply, include your full legal name. In that reply, tell me if there will be other individuals participating in this real estate transaction, such as your spouse. If so, provide me their full legal name and contact information, such as email. I will then arrange to have this guide signed, stating that you read it in its entirety. I may also forward other documents and have you sign them as well. If you have further questions or concerns, feel free to message me. Additionally, you may want to visit the RECO website for further information. Thank you for taking your time watching this video, and I look forward to working with you for your real estate needs.